Thank you, Abraham. Okay, so I had the joyous discovery this summer of realizing that I had become an Abraham-inspired psychotherapist. I'm doing clinical work. I hadn't been doing that for a while. And what comes out of my mouth is Abraham.
Yeah.
I do very well. My patients love you, by the way.
Yeah.
I do very well with what man has called depression. I do very well with what man has called anxiety, substance abuse, trauma, I don't call it that, but, I have an area of expansion that would be fun if I could do, where I would like your... Inspiration, clarification, and expansion.
Yeah.
It's what man has called psychosis, when people, to find relief, lose touch with reality in a way that man has conceived of. They can't really feed themselves or take good care of themselves. So I get that that's a way of finding relief. And relief is what you've always recommended. Relief, find relief, seek relief, get you in the vortex. But then I have this in front of me, and I don't know, I'm good with the others. I'm not that good with this. Because I'm having so much fun being an Abraham-shaped psychotherapist, and it has been fun, and I didn't know it would happen. It just happened. And this thing that man has chosen to call psychosis.
Would you describe it as a withdrawal?
Yeah.
Would you describe it as a lack of interest? Would you describe it as a lack of focus?
It's a lack of focus because I'm assuming they feel better by not looking at...
But when you are interacting with someone like this, what is your experience? Do you have their attention?
I have their attention.
And how do you get it?
Not so sure, but that's not difficult. I just don't know that I want to pull them away from the psychosis.
Well, that's the question that we're presenting to you, and we'll chew on it together until something clicks into place for you.
They have found relief in this thing we call disconnecting from reality. They found relief. I see that's valid.
And what are they focused upon? If they have disconnected from reality, it sounds a little bit like our opening remarks to all of you.
Yeah, right.
We'd like you all to disconnect from reality if it's not pleasing to you, and begin creating a new... What have these teachers come to teach you?
Right, exactly.
So they're not functioning very well in this world.
As in the way our society, they couldn't hold a job. They may not have, that type of. They may be under a bridge, that type of stuff, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm not so sure how to move with that.
The thing that's most important is that, first of all, you can't evaluate for anyone else what their desire should be. So if they don't have a job, anyone here have a job you don't want? In other words, there are a lot of people that are happier under the bridge than at work.
I do get that. I understand
We're
that.
playing with you a little bit, but we want to flesh this out in a way that we can get somewhere with it. So describe, if you can, and we know it's never a good idea to put everyone with a label in one basket, but can you describe a typical person who is living with this psychosis? What's his world like?
They respond to stimuli that isn't there, apparently. They talk to people that apparently are not there.
Uh-oh.
This is what I don't know what to do with it.
Do any of them talk to birds?
It does feel very different from bringing forth infinite. It feels very different. It has a different vibration. It does.
Well, we acknowledge that it's different than what we've been describing here to some extent. Yeah. But the basis that we want to start with here is that you are a reasonable group. Stay with us just for a little bit. You are a reasonable group. So when we talk to you about knowing what you don't want and knowing what you do want, and we encourage you to try to give more attention to what you do want, it seems possible, maybe even logical, not easy, but it does seem like something that you could do in time. But if you had been living something for a long period of time, if you had been, by virtue of what you were giving your attention to, your attention being the reality of what is, if you had been giving your attention to reality, maybe you were in Vietnam and it was a reality that you would, and a lot of those people under those bridges were that. Or maybe you lived some trauma. Maybe it was a general trauma that took place over a long period of time, or maybe it was a sudden trauma that, but as you've been focused upon something and it was something so big and so unwanted, and you feel powerless to do anything about it, and you don't understand, you haven't had the benefit of having someone sort of coach you into alignment and make it all right for you to be where you are and guide you vibrationally little by little back into vibrational alignment. If you feel like your only two choices are to face reality and feel the most excruciating pain that you've ever felt in your life, or to withdraw from reality, you will find a way of withdrawing from reality. And we think that's a good step given those only two considerations that you're giving yourself.